AP News Summary at 5:22 p.m. EDT. Mike Johnson, a staunch conservative from Louisiana, is elected House Speaker with broad GOP support. Washington. AP, Republican Congressman Mike Johnson of Louisiana has been elected House Speaker. Republicans eagerly gave Johnson the gavel on Wednesday by a vote of 220 to 209, with a few absences. Johnson picked up an important nod of support from Donald Trump. Johnson was the fourth candidate Republicans nominated to replace Kevin McCarthy. The Republican majority has been desperate to end the chaos after ousting Kevin McCarthy at the start of the month. Johnson was quickly sworn into office. He said Republicans would restore the people's faith in the House. President Joe Biden congratulated the new speaker, saying it's time for all to act responsibly, addressing the nation's challenges. Warns Gaza blockade could force it to sharply cut relief missions as Israeli bombings rise. Time equals 400 ms greater than Rafah, Gaza Strip. AP, the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, has warned that it is on the verge of running out of fuel in the Gaza Strip, forcing it to sharply cut back relief operations across the Gaza Strip. The territory has been blockaded and hit by devastating Israeli airstrikes since Hamas militants launched an attack on Israel more than 2 weeks ago. Hospitals in Gaza are struggling to treat masses of wounded with dwindling resources. Health officials in the Hamas-ruled territory say the airstrikes killed more than 750 people between Tuesday and Wednesday. It's not clear how many of those killed were militants, and the Associated Press could not independently verify the death toll. Trump is fined $10,000 over a comment he made outside court in his New York civil fraud trial. New York. AP. The judge in Donald Trump's civil fraud trial has fined the former president $10,000. The judge says Trump violated a limited gag order barring personal attacks on court staffers. The fine was issued Wednesday after Trump complained outside court about what he called a person who's very partisan sitting alongside the judge in the case, Arthur Engoron. Weeks ago, Engoron ordered all participants in the case not to comment publicly about his staff. The October 3rd gag order came after Trump made a social media post maligned the judge's principal law clerk, who sits beside him in court. Trump said his comment Wednesday was about witness Michael Cohen, not the clerk. Engoron said Trump's claim was not credible. Hurricane Otis batters Acapulco, rips across southern Pacific coast before becoming Tropical Storm Acapulco, Mexico. AP. Hurricane Otis ripped through Mexico's southern Pacific coast as a powerful Category 5 storm, tearing through buildings in the resort city of Acapulco, ravaging roads and leaving large swaths of the southwestern state of Guerrero without power or cell phone service. While little is known about possible deaths or the full extent of the damage, experts are calling Otis the strongest storm in history to make landfall along the eastern Pacific coast. By late Wednesday afternoon, Otis had dissipated to a subtropical storm. Driver in Malibu crash that killed 4 college students charged with murder, held on $4 million by Los Angeles. AP. Authorities say the 22-year-old driver of a BMW that struck and killed 4 Pepperdine University students in Malibu has been charged with 4 counts of murder. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department says Fraser Boehm was arrested Tuesday and pleaded not guilty to all charges in court on Wednesday. His attorney says the crash occurred as Boehm was being chased following a road rage incident. Authorities have said the driver lost control and sideswiped parked vehicles before crashing into the students walking on the scenic Pacific Coast Highway. 2 others were also injured. International terror defendants face longer prison terms than domestic counterparts. New study finds. A new study has found that people convicted of crimes related to domestic extremism face far shorter prison terms than those convicted in international terrorism cases, even when the crimes are similar. The first of its kind analysis by terrorism researchers at the University of Maryland comes amid scrutiny of the outcomes of January 6 cases, including for some Oath Keepers and Proud Boys who received sentences years lower than what was called for by prosecutors and sentencing guidelines. President Joe Biden has called domestic terrorism the most urgent terrorism threat faced by the country, yet the data show that on average, the penalties associated with the crimes don't reflect that. Leader of Lebanon's Hezbollah holds talks with senior Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad figures. Beirut. AP. The leader of Lebanon's Hezbollah group has met with top Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad officials. The meeting Wednesday is the first one reported since the Israel-Hamas war erupted earlier this month and clashes began along the Lebanon-Israel border. Israel declared war after Hamas fighters surged into Israel on October 7, killing 1,400 people and abducting over 200 others in an unprecedented attack. Hezbollah militants and Israeli troops have clashed along the tense Lebanon-Israel border since the day after the attack. In a statement, Hassan Nasrallah agreed with top Hamas official Salah al-Aruri and Islamic Jihad leader Ziad al-Nakhleh on next steps to be taken during this sensitive stage, without giving further details. Loyalty. Above all, removal of top Chinese officials seen as enforcing Xi's demand for obedience. Taipei, Taiwan, AP. Analysts say the removal of China's foreign and defense ministers appears to enforce leader Xi Jinping's demand for total obedience and the elimination of any potential rivals within the ruling Communist Party. State media this week confirmed that former Defense Minister General Li Shangfu and former Foreign Minister Qin Gang were no longer serving in office, but offered no details. The opacity of China's one-party authoritarian system creates huge speculation about why the officials left office and whether they will face legal censure. Both Li and Qin were appointed under Xi's watch. Time equals 400 Ms. greater than Biden calls Australia an anchor to peace and prosperity. During state visit from Albanese Washington, AP, President Joe Biden and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese say they are working to deepen the alliance between their two countries during a state visit to Washington. Biden called Australia as an anchor to peace and prosperity. The state visit includes a lavish dinner Wednesday evening at the White House. The leaders are working on economic development partnerships that are intended to bolster Pacific Island nations. They're also pushing to arm Australia with US-made, nuclear-powered submarines. The initiatives are intended to counter China's influence in the region, which is one of Biden's top foreign policy goals. City of Orlando buys Pulse nightclub property to build memorial to massacre victims. Orlando, Florida. AP. The city of Orlando is moving forward with plans to create a memorial on the property of the Pulse nightclub, where 49 people were massacred 7 years ago. City leaders agreed Monday night to purchase the property for $2 million. Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer says they plan a collaborative approach, working with families of the victims to create the memorial. On June 12, 2016, Omar Mateen opened fire in the gay nightclub, killing 49 and wounding 53 people. At the time, it was the worst mass shooting in modern U.S. history. That number was surpassed in 2017 when 58 people were killed at a country music festival in Las Vegas.